It's spinning. I'm watching it. Hey, everybody. Jennifer Bullock, along with my friends. We've got Sia in Brooklyn, New York, and Shelby in Huntsville, Alabama,
Hey,
and, and Jessica in Northern Virginia, all here to talk about real estate trends across the nation. So, good evening, everybody.
good
Hi.
evening. Thank you for having us.
I'm so
Yes,
glad that
thank you.
I'm
Thank
so
you,
glad.
Jen.
Absolutely. I am so glad that y'all joined me. Um, I hate to start with somebody, but Sia, can I start with you? Like, what kind of trends are you seeing? And have you seen a difference since the feds made their statement last week about increasing the interest rates again? Have you seen an immediate
Yes,
effect?
absolutely. That's like everybody's biggest question is about what's happening with the interest rate and how it's going to affect my home and am I going to be able to sell my home? Right now, I have not felt the effects in our market because, the lower end price homes maybe like the ones that are doing FHA, but like most of the homes that we sell here are in a higher end and the buyers have a lot of cash. So they're looking to buy right now before there's any more increases.
That's awesome.
That's how I feel. I feel like there's an urgency. So it's a very good time to sell. And with the inventory, it's so low. I mean, the sellers should absolutely, if you're thinking about it, don't even look at the interest rate and put it's time to actually sell. There's no inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing the exact same thing. I told you earlier, I had four buyers fly in this weekend. I'm trying to go ahead and buy something before the interest rate changes again. And what I've found are like first time home buyers, yes, it is affecting them. However, most of my clientele, if they have money in the stock market is not doing well. So they've taken that money out and feel like the real estate market is the best place to put their money. What are you seeing, Shelby?
Mhm. We haven't really seen an immediate effect from last week. It's probably on people's mind. I think the biggest adjustment came from when we went from, what I call a crazy low rate to what's more like a normal rate, like we kind of have right now. We definitely felt that for a minute, but we may see it in the next couple of weeks. I feel like it kind of just happened. So that will be interesting to see. One thing I find really interesting is I'm seeing, we still have super low inventory. It's changed a little bit, but I'm seeing like buyers come, back. I guess we've gotten a lot of buyers under contract recently that, maybe weren't around before. They maybe took a breath, during that time that the interest rates changed, kind of like seeing what happened, and then kind of move forward with that. But we're also seeing a lot of, I don't know how to say this, less qualified buyers, come into the marketplace, which I really think that these changes are going to affect them greatly. It's kind of like they finally got a breath and they're like, ooh, okay, ooh, there's a little bit less buyers, so maybe I have a chance. And now it's like, no, not really, which I feel it hurts my heart, so.
Absolutely. But I think you're right too, as the people that had stopped looking 6 months ago when everybody was putting 10 offers on each house and they were just $100,000 above list price and all this inconsistency and kind of craziness that was happening. Then they have come back, and I think they also realized that the prices have continued to go up, and they're not really projected to go down. In our area, rent has gone up 33%. So our average rent here is $2,200 a month.
Oh
So
my.
exactly. So if you're going to rent, why in the world wouldn't you just put that money into your own personal house? That is, what
Yeah.
about what about you, Jessica? What are you seeing?
I'm seeing a lot of what Shelby's seeing. There's affordability issues now because the rates are higher. And again, I saw more of it when the shift went from 4 to 5, 6. And so what happened then here is that basically the houses started sitting a little bit longer, or instead of 15 offers, it slowed down. It went from 15 to like 3 to now 1 if you're lucky the first weekend, and homes selling more around their list price or maybe even below. in some cases,
Mhm.
as opposed to someone coming in and waiving everything and giving you their firstborn child and going crazy high. So that time is no longer here. So
Thank God.
yeah. So you can actually get in, you can get your buyers in with, a home inspection with maybe option to negotiate repairs. So more of a balanced market. So even though it's a seller's market here because of the inventory, it's a lot more balanced, and I'm very thankful for that. We're also seeing stubborn sellers here in so far as they, because the market was super hot, they're expecting to get what their neighbor got, 3 months ago when the rates were lower. And yes, the comps are there, but I'm having to explain to sellers that while the comps are there, the buyers may not qualify anymore at that price. So I've had buyers contact me and say, can we please lower by $100,000, lower the budget? And so that's kind of where the shift is happening here. And I think it's starting to hurt builders and flippers because they came in and they paid for materials and labor, and now they're not going to get the profit margin that they had hoped for.
Yeah. So that is a good question. So are you starting, well, we'll come back with you, Sia, and go back around. Are you starting to see more negotiations happen than they did 3 months ago or 6 months ago?
Yeah. And people sellers are giving subsidies in many cases, and buyers can use those subsidies to buy discount points to bring their rate down.
Oh. Are you seeing the same thing, Sia?
Not yet. No, we're not seeing that. I think that has not affected us yet.
Okay. Yeah, we're starting
a little bit differently here. It's a little bit different. Like we don't even. I think your market's completely different. Like in New York, you don't get any because you negotiate before you do an inspection. Like so, once you do the inspection, you're not in contract. Like you guys are in contract. We don't do that.
We do it completely opposite. That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
So then you would go and look at a house, you would write up the offer, you would do all the inspection.
You would do an offer, and then before anything's bindable, then you go in contract. So like you can't really, it's as is, yeah.
Ours is as is too, but didn't you say you go under contract after the inspection is done?
Yeah, after the inspection. So you don't hear the lawyers will not write up a contract until after the inspection. So the buyers have to do the inspection, do their due diligence, and then we'll go into contract. So there's no negotiation. They're not giving them any special considerations.
See, that is super interesting because we have a huge influx of people from New York, New Jersey coming in here. And my first thing was that, we write our own contracts, whereas you have an attorney write your contract. And we are an attorney state, but buyers or sellers never meet the attorney until the day of closing. And a lot of times they've never talked to the attorney. And so when I have my New York buyers coming in, I have to explain to them what that difference is.
Yeah, that's a big difference. Here nothing happens without an attorney. Nothing.
That's interesting. We are starting to see, instead of things going on the market and going under contract in 30 seconds, it's taking more like 8 to 10 days. And you're starting to see, like Jessica, seeing a little bit more negotiations. I did get one under contract and it was $10,000 above list price. But for the most part, you're starting to see normalization, I think is what Shelby said too.
Yeah.
I think it's starting to normalize. What about you, Shelby?
Well, we have interesting
negotiations.
Do what?
Like as far as seller negotiations, are you starting to see sellers give a little bit more?
We're seeing, so I just listed what we might call a first-time buyer home. We still ended up with 8 offers. We still ended up over asking. Several buyers agents thought the market had shifted much more greatly than it maybe has. And I felt like I'd step back in time. I'm like, this is not happening. They home warranty, several $1,000s in closing costs. Probably shouldn't disclose what they were. And we're like, no, so the people that had presented offers that were, more similar to what we've been seeing, of course, they're winning out. So I think one thing, working with buyers, especially to remember is, yes, it shifted, but it didn't fall down. It's not that great of it. It's just, it's not this, it's this, you know?
That's exactly right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's still a really good hot market.
I love it. It was a change and I don't love for buyers who can't qualify now or any of that. That stinks for them. But as far as an agent and just having it soften a little, and our buyers that are able to move forward right now to have the opportunity to look at different homes, take a day even to think about it sometimes, that is a much welcome change. On the listing side, just, we listed a home on, this home on Friday, normally my phone would nonstop ring for 4 days. It still was plenty of ringing, but just a little bit less. We could all breathe. And, it's a better experience for both sides. It's a better experience for buyers and it's a better experience for sellers, because honestly, what seller wants to look at 35 offers? I don't want to process 35 offers, and they don't want to look at 35. It's overwhelming.
It's very overwhelming.
So having multiple but less is still a good thing,
Yeah. I 100% agree. I want to say hey to Maureen. Hey, Maureen.
Hi.
We love you, Maureen. And it is live, so if you have any comments, please go ahead and place them. But what about sales prices? Are you guys still seeing, or what are you seeing in sales price? Year over year, monthly, however you guys have looked at it, what are you seeing in your market? And I guess we'll start with Jessica. I'll go the opposite direction this time.
Sure. So I feel like the height was around May for us here. So the median sales price in Fairfax County was $715,000, and now it is $635,000. So that is a pretty big difference. And so we've seen a little bit of a decrease, and I think if the rates continue to go up, that might continue to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What about you, Sia?
Well, Brooklyn, the market usually, the average price last year was like 900,000. Now we're looking at 980,000 is the average price over the years. So the prices have gone up. But when I say Brooklyn, it's like such a big, it could be 1.2, it could be 600 price range. So but the average is going up about 8%. Yeah, since last year.
What about you, Shelby?
We have consistently gone up every month except for August, which did go down. August is a little unique here. I'm curious if y'all see this, but when school starts here, we see a slowdown for 2 to 3 weeks. And so I'm not sure that August is the best 30 days, 31 days to pull from for a stat like that. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens next month. I'm not convinced that that's a real thing. I think it may just be August is weird, So I'm curious to see what will happen. I think overall, because our inventory is so low and we, last year we became the biggest city in Alabama. So we're growing so rapidly with the low inventory. I cannot fathom our values going down in any way. I just think instead of doing this, they're going to do this. They're just going to increase at a little bit slower rate.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. Wait to see what happens in September, because August.
You don't have a crystal ball. I wish we all did. But our prices have continuously gone up. We're in about the 400,000 price range is our median. We did see an increase in June, which was 426. It's gone down to 418 now. But pretty much and if you look from year to date, it's gone up 14% from last year.
Yeah.
But just every month, it's continuing to go up. Without one little gap. But I do see the same thing. We see the same thing in August here. If you look at the closed sales, we're typically slow when school starts.
Yeah. Okay. I wondered. So,
what about you, Jess? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Sorry. I'm going to ask a question. I was just curious what Jessica's average sales price is, because when I hear Sia say things in the 900s, I can't even imagine.
So what is yours, Shelby?
Environment. So yeah, it was 391 last month, but this month it was 367. So we'll see where it falls overall. But
mine's like 418. I think Jess said hers is 715. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Jessica, can you hear us?
Sorry, I was muted. Mine's around 600,000.
Yeah, that's great.
See, in our market, like luxury is $550 and up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Ours
Wasn't that long ago, our average sales price was $250. So, we're getting there.
5 years ago, ours was $250.
Yeah. But that's one thing about our market. I feel like we're so far below even close cities like Atlanta, Nashville, Birmingham, that their average sales price is much higher. So, we're seeing actually a lot of people coming to Huntsville, believe it or not, to invest. We've worked with a lot of people from California this year. They see it as a good opportunity because we have so far to go with our average sales price, for example. So there's still, still a good place to invest. And who would have ever thought, oh, I'm going to go invest in Huntsville, Alabama, but here we are. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the inventory being low. I mean, that's just your basic business dynamics, right? Your supply versus demand. We all are still seeing a low supply and the demand's still high.
Yeah.
And hey, Hope, how are you? Glad to see you.
Hi.
What else? Let's look. And then what about your days on the market? Has that changed any?
Mine did. Mine went up. Well, our days in the market because of the lawyer situation. I'm blaming the lawyers. I mean, I know about 80 days to 84 days last year. Now it's going past 86 days in the market. And I think that's going to might continue to go up in the next couple of weeks.
I would agree.
Yeah, but I think that's one thing that has increased a couple of days.
So how long does it take for you to close?
Average, so I would tell you, even if it was a cash deal, it usually takes 60 days. 90 is with a mortgage deal. 45 days for a commitment, but then by the time we get the contract, it's at least 2 weeks already. Depends how fast everybody's willing to work. So about 90 days.
So ours is a 30-day process. 45 is considered long. But our average days on the market have gone up. They were 20 just last month, 20, 19, 18, they're up to 23. So a little bit of a difference, but nothing drastic. Like I said, it gives me breathing room. What are you seeing, Shelby?
So interesting. Our days on market counts from when it's gone active to when it goes under contract, not close. So that might be a little interesting thing that's different, but ours have been rolling anywhere between 8 days on market and about 11. And then July and August were both 11. So it'll be interesting. I do know, without even looking, that the higher price points are probably seeing more of a shift in that. The lower ones are still just flying off the shelf, but that's because we do have a lot of buyers coming back into, the market and a lot of investors as well. So,
and does your average close time is 30 days?
Yeah.
Yes. And do you have an attorney that does your closings?
We do. Mm-hmm. We write our contracts. I think we're really similar. One difference I've had to kind of talk through with other with buyers coming here is like the due diligence period that some people we don't have
deposit probably. So where we're different than, like, I know Virginia, I'm not sure about Alabama or New York, but I know Virginia has like a million different dates on their contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Here we have 2. We have a due diligence date and a closing date. That's it. So the contract reads, you have to do everything, and and do your loan application, all your inspections, whatever it is you want to do, you have during that due diligence period to do it. But we also have a due diligence deposit, which is money that goes directly to the seller and is non-refundable for any reason.
Wow.
I heard that. I couldn't believe that. Like, you were saying Venmo or something. Like, what?
You can even Venmo it. Yep, you can wire it. You can Venmo it. It goes directly to the seller. As long as the buyer buys the home, it is applied to the price. But and this a lot of people are saying the same thing Sia is that they would like to go under contract after they've done the inspections, because here, you're putting up 20 or 30,000 directly to the seller, and the seller doesn't have to do anything. So if anything major comes on the contract, they've lost that money.
They lose their money. They don't get it back?
No, non-refundable for no reason. The only way it would be refundable is if the seller were to terminate. If the seller decided not to sell, they'd have to return the money. But other than that, it's non-refundable.
The only reason why a seller would do that if he got more money from somebody else. He could do that or no?
He's not supposed to be able to do that. They're not supposed to. It's supposed to be binding. But if they did, they would just have to refund the money. But then there's a whole legalities that they could get sued for that also.
Wow.
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 Yeah, that's what everybody says. It's been on our contract for years, but only really in the past 12 to 18 months are sellers expecting that money. It 6 months ago, it was a lot of money. Now it's, 4,000 or 5,000 roughly.
Is North Carolina a buyer beware state?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh yeah, we are too.
What about you, Jessica? How long is it taking? Average days on the market?
So we days on market, same as Shelby. It's days active. And so our lowest in the past year and a half was May of this past year at 9 days. But it's been all over the place. So 9 to 24, and it fluctuates pretty regularly. In August, 18 was the average days on market. So things do fly pretty quickly here. I mean, we're outside of Washington, D.C., so there are a lot of jobs here. People come here all the time. So I think no matter what happens in the market, I think this area is always going to be pretty popular.
Yeah, absolutely. So what about list price versus sold price? What are you guys seeing there and compared to what it was?
So August, I looked at like month over month and then also a rolling 12 months. It really hasn't changed that much. I guess it kind of depends on how you look at it. But ours, I just thought it was interesting, from August of last year was 100.4%. And then this August, it's 102 point backwards. Last August, it was 102.3%. This August, it was 100.4%, which when you look at percentages, that's probably actually more than it sounds like. But if you're looking at
it sounds like everybody's getting list price and slightly more.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see. It'd be really fun to do this again next month.
And we can cover that.
I think it'd be interesting to look back on that in a month. I think we're starting to see. I just keep seeing these little things. I'm like, okay, I see a little hint here and a little hint there. But nothing is major here yet. Nothing has shifted greatly. Not yet.
Yeah. What do you see, Jess?
So it's pretty much been over 100% until it looks like until last month, until July. And now July, the listed median was 674 and the listed sales price was 649. Mm-hmm. So it's gone down. And this last month, August, 654 was the median list price and 635 was the median sale price.
So for us, I thought it was interesting because like in January, it was 99% list price to sales price. So getting almost list price, but not quite. And then when we hit March, April, May, and June and July, it went up to 100 to 102%. And now we're back down to 99%, which is historic. I've been in real estate 15 years, and normally it was 97 to 98%. Mm-hmm. So you're starting to see, for us, we're starting to see a little bit of that negotiation.
Yeah. I also wonder too how much like the way agents are pricing the homes factors into all of that, because people are like, oh, it's not selling. I had to do a price reduction. I'm like, oh, did you overprice it? I'm wondering, who knows, like maybe they did it. I don't know. But, we've been looking really hard for 2 years now. We used to just look at, what the comps sold for. We didn't look at what they listed it for. I didn't care, Right. Now we have to look at where they listed to bring the magic of listed, sold, and so and I know not everybody's doing it that way, but I think, you've got to pay attention to where it listed to get that above price, not just where it sold and try to price it up here. That doesn't work. Not to me.
I 100% agree. And I go back to, it's very important to interview your real estate agent and make sure you have somebody that's not just telling you what you want to hear, but is giving you the hard facts, the truth, the data, and everything to back it up so that you get the price that you think your house is going to sell for, not an inflated price that some brand new agent is telling you you could get only to have you chase it down.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I think we've already talked about seller concessions, but what about like absorption rate? Like if everything was listed today, do you ladies know how long? And I'm not supposed to say ladies, I'm sorry, but you people.
Why not?
Say y'all. Just say y'all.
Yeah, y'all. I know last time when
What
I
y'all
first
think?
in our floor, and I said y'all, she was like, she looked amazed that it came out of my mouth, and then she tried to say it. Was like,
I
this
think
girl is not saying y'all.
Well, we right now, last year the inventory was 2.4 months, and now this year up to August, so we don't know what's going to happen next month or in the next couple of months, 1.8. So we went down. The inventory keeps going down, but again, August was a very weird month, right? Shelby, it was weird.
Yeah, for sure. Ours is really interesting because this time last year, again, just looking at August over August, it was 0.9. And so it's actually changed 100% this month. So this right now it's 1.8. Okay. So it's interesting to think it's changed 100%, but it's really not a big deal, because we're still that was like an insane seller's market. Now we're in like a crazy, awesome, strong seller's market.
Yeah, that's right.
Strong, like numbers I've never seen before, until the last couple of years. So
I agree. What about you, Jess?
It was 1.1 in May, 1.6 now. So it's still, the inventory is not great.
Or lower, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what we were at 0.9 in January, and we're at 1.8 months. But I started in the industry in 2007, right? So right as things are going down, and when I would go into a listing, our average days on the market were 9 to 12 months. People would sign year-long listing agreements. Our absorption rate, gosh, I think we were at like 18 months absorption rate. So it's crazy that just how much the market has changed and how really good it is. Hey, Ryan, Las Vegas, Ryan, looking forward to seeing you soon. Uh-oh, what happened to Jess?
We lost her.
Yeah, she might have lost her.
Hi.
Oh, you are.
I'm here. Sorry, my children are home. I had to tell them to be quiet.
And are you guys seeing anything, and we'll wrap this up, but are you seeing before, I was in 6 months ago, sellers would not accept anything unless it was cash or a conventional loan with an extraordinarily a lot of money down. Starting to see a little bit, not much, but starting to see a little bit FHA, VA buyers out there that are starting to get accepted. 6 months ago, there's no way they would have been accepted. Are you seeing any differences with the financing end of it?
Yes, absolutely. Especially because there aren't as many offers on listings. So, if you only get one offer and it's VA, well, that's the offer you're going to work with. So yes, definitely seeing more opportunities out there for all kinds of loans.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you two seeing?
But we've always had a hard time, getting people, because we have a cash heavy buyers here. Depending on the market in Brooklyn, sometimes you can work with the buyers that are with less cash, but overall, still very tough to compete with people with 40% down. But, it's a tough market for buyers here.
Yeah. And what about you, Shelby?
We're seeing the same, more VA and more FHA. I think that it needs to be said that they need to think about the things that those loans come with that need to be overcome. So you may be able, yay, that we can entertain those offers again, but go ahead and address that appraisal. Like, go ahead and as a listing agent, go ahead and let me know how you're going to deal with that. Because we of course want to work with these folks, but if the other offer is not contingent, and I don't know if this is everywhere, I probably should know this, but VA and FHA come with the automatic appraisal contingency. It's in our contract. It's part of it. I'm assuming that's everywhere.
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead and talk about it. Even if, hey, it is what it is, that's fine. But if you can overcome some of those things, that's really helpful. Or, saying, we haven't really done this, but, hey, my buyer will cover any FHA repairs, Of course, it leaves a lot of questions. How are we going to do that? But those kind of things would really help those buyers have a leg up. So I'm definitely want to work with them, but there are some things that they need to keep in mind and try to overcome to be competitive, because for us, we do still have multiple offers and they are competing,
No, that's a really good point and good advice for the buyers out there. So we're starting to see a little bit more. I mean, still, and it's unfortunate because those are really good loan programs. However, if you are a seller and you have a cash buyer, or a conventional buyer with 30% down, it's a big difference than a VA buyer that has no money to put down. Right?
Or if they do, go ahead and make sure we're
Sure,
aware.
We accepted one. I had the seller. We did accept a VA loan, and they did have plenty of money to put down, and they did show it. Of course, they wanted to use the VA if they could, because of the financing was so much better. But they showed us that they did get a conventional loan and a VA loan and the cash that they had, and that they could shift if the VA denied, whatever didn't happen with the VA.
Yeah. If something went wrong, there was a backup plan.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So we accepted it, and it went through his VA, and everything went fine. But
yeah, it's not that the sellers don't want to work with these loan types. It's just that if you have something that's a little more appealing or a little safer, is really what I see, they're going to go with that,
Yeah, of course they are. Of course they are. Well, good. So wrapping up, good time to buy and sell in your market?
I think it's great for both. The buyers have a little bit easier process, a little less competition, and it's still a super strong seller's market. So can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I completely well said.
I agree with Shelby. Yeah, absolutely. It's a neutral market. Buyers, great opportunity to put your money in a great investment, and sellers, there's no inventory. So it's a great time to also sell your home.
Absolutely. And with the prices going up, I think, I've had a couple of buyers that said, we're just going to wait. And I'm like, wait for what? Because I don't see the prices coming down. If you wait too long, are you going to rent up your whole life? I mean, and maybe you are, but at some point we have to address that. What happens if it doesn't? It's a gamble. And then also my thought process is, why wouldn't you buy now? I had a client that fly into town, and one of her things was, I don't really care what the interest rates are. I'm going to buy now because I see the prices going up. I could still afford now. And hopefully in 2 or 3 years, I'll just refinance it at a lower mortgage rate.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good time to buy and sell. I think it's always good if you're buying and selling in the same market. So, if anyone's out there is concerned that the prices will come down, well, if they do come down, then they're going to come down for the house you have to sell to. So, right now might be a great time to sell and move up. And I personally would never buy a house without doing a home inspection. And now we can get home inspections. And I'm also starting to see settlement contingencies. This is contingent on the settlement of my property at 123 Apple Street. So it's definitely a less stressful market to buy in. I think it's nice to have more time to pick your house than a pair of jeans, and so it's not a bad time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys. It was great seeing y'all. I always love seeing y'all, so it's great catching up. And I think it's so interesting to learn about the different markets in the different states, and in the attorney state that does everything with your inspections up front. I think that's really smart. I couldn't imagine an 80-day closing, but I like the fact that you could do the inspections up front, so you know what you're getting into without losing all this money. But it's super interesting. Well, good. Well, thank you guys, and it was great.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And let's talk again in a month. I think that's I
love it. See you then.
Bye, guys.